One of the Darlington nurses that you know are taking legal action against the NHS because the NHS foisted upon them a, we'll use the term this once, trans woman nurse, and that's a bloke pretending to be a woman. Darlington Memorial Hospital told the nurses who objected to this bloke being in their safe female space, their female changing rooms, you'll have to put up with it because that's trans and that's our policy, and you mustn't be bigoted. So the nurses there are taking legal action against the NHS, legal action that you might have thought would be home and dry after the Supreme Court's biological sex ruling a couple of weeks ago. But as in so many other areas of life, that is not the case. Karen Danson will join us soon to tell us her harrowing story. There's a reason that she was the one nurse among these nurses suing the NHS, suing for the right to have a women's only space, a female changing room without blokes in it. Blokes just saying, I identify as a woman, therefore I am a woman. There's a reason that Karen, until now, has not been named, and that is because she suffered a traumatic childhood at the hands of her evil father. She was sexually abused. So when she saw a bloke called Rose, not his real name obviously, in the female changing room, half-dressed, pair of boxer shorts with holes in them, she was so traumatised that she was frozen into silence. She couldn't speak. Now she is going to speak. There's another aspect to this. Later, Karen had to be a patient at Darlington Memorial Hospital, and had to undergo a hysterectomy, an intimate operation. She found out to her horror that this bloke Rose was the assigned nurse, was the nurse assigned to her surgery. When she objected to hospital executives, they told her, well, you'll have to lump it because we don't want to hurt his feelings. I mean, it's mad. I mean, I believe common sense eventually prevailed there, but Karen has been going through a special kind of a hell. She's just one of the nurses who are making a brave stance against what I would say cruel NHS wokery that completely ignores their concerns. Well, Karen can join us now. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us, Karen.
Oh, hello, thank you for having me.
Now, I just sort of laid out your story, but as I say, I think there's something like 26 nurses at Darlington Memorial Hospital have signed a petition and are pursuing legal action against the NHS to enforce your female changing rooms, your women's only space. Your particular trauma involved being in there at the end of one of your shifts to find a bloke in there, a bloke calling himself Rose, in a state of undress, wearing a pair of boxer shorts with holes in them, leaving nothing to the imagination, and when he kept turning to you and saying, aren't you going to get changed? Aren't you going to get changed? In a sort of taunting way. And because of we'll talk about your childhood if we may in just a little while, but because of your traumatic childhood, you found yourself frozen in fear, frozen into silence. You were unable to speak.
Yeah, I was absolutely petrified. At first I thought I was in the wrong changing room, because I looked up and there's clearly a man there. You could clearly see genitalia through his boxer shorts, and then the deep voice comes from behind, are you getting changed yet? And like 3 times within 5 minutes, it's pestering, and it had me worried, like, why does he want me to get changed? Is he trying to provoke a reaction? Does he actually want me to get changed? And I just went into panic mode, fight or flight. I wanted to get out of there, but I couldn't. I was sweating. I thought I was going to be sick or pass out. I was just literally glued to my seat. I couldn't move. I didn't know what to do.
And this sort of got worse. I mean, you added your name to the other brave nurses who are, you know, you've launched legal action against the NHS to, quite rightly in my view, demand your own space, your female-only space. But you were never named for the reason that of course you are in sympathy with your fellow nurses, you agree with their case. But on a personal basis, one of the reasons that you really don't want to be around men in the state of undress is your traumatic childhood. Your father sexually abused you, and when you saw this guy walking around in all his lack of glory, when you saw his manhood, it just brought back terrible memories of what your father did to you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the abuse happened when I was 6. It started when I was 6, and it was 3 times a week, every week minimum, for 6 years. And there was obviously horrific things that he did within that 6 years. But a lot of the things, it was he would walk into the bedroom when I was getting ready for bed or getting ready for school, and he would say, "You're not getting ready for bed yet. You're not getting changed." And then here I am as an adult in a changing room with a man who's saying, "Are you not getting ready? Like, are you not getting changed yet?" And it was just too much. The look my dad had on his face while he was abusing me was like the same look that this person had on his face. He was just smirking, and yeah, I couldn't cope. It just brought back like the nightmares and flashbacks.
So this bloke calling himself Rose, Karen, he was clearly enjoying your discomfort, your trauma, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. He could see I was uncomfortable. I was at the point where I was shaking, I was ready to pass out when he was still stood smirking. Whether or not it was from a sexual point of view or whether or not he was literally just enjoying seeing me uncomfortable.
But for you, that was particularly horrifying because that expression on that guy's face reminded you of the expression on your father's face when he abused you, when no one else knew this was happening, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And if it wasn't for the policy that the trust has in place, he wouldn't have been in that changing room in the first place. And I wouldn't have gone through all this.
Absolutely. Now, we'll come back to the case in just a minute, but it got worse, didn't it? Because you had to have, I know that you don't mind talking about this, it's obviously very personal details, but it's an important story to be told. You had endometriosis, so you had to have a hysterectomy. A very intimate operation for a lady to undergo, obviously. You then learn, this is at your hospital, Darlington Memorial, so you're not functioning here as an employee, as a nurse, you're a patient. You learn, to your horror, that this nurse, Rose, this bloke, Rose, is the nurse assigned to your surgery. So tell us what you did then. You went to the authorities?
I couldn't believe it at first. It's been going on, this endometriosis has been going on for years, diagnosed 6 years ago, and it was back and forth getting scans and things, and it was only about a month before the actual date of my surgery. My consultant said it was going to be part robotic, and I knew straight away that this person works in the robotic theatre. So I went round to theatres and I said, look, it's really not appropriate to have him in my procedure. You know, there's a conflict of interest. It's ethically inappropriate given what's happened in the changing room. I'm really not comfortable. And I said, like, what had happened to me as a child, not in a lot of detail. And I said, really, I want to be able to say I want as few men in there as possible. I'd known my gynecologist for like 6 years. I trusted him completely. It's hard for me to trust people, so I trusted him and I didn't want anything to, to jeopardise that. And theatre staff said, well, there's nothing we can do. Think about how this person would feel if he was removed from your theatre. I said, well, what about how I would feel? Like,
sorry. Unbelievable, unbelievable. So they prioritised not hurting his feelings over your deep, heartfelt desire not to have him anywhere near you when your surgery was going on. I mean, it seems to me a very reasonable request anyway. I mean, just generally speaking, I would have thought that apart from the men that you trust, like your gynecologist, you wouldn't be entirely thrilled by the idea of unknown men being around you anyway. I mean, this guy, Rose, is a man, and yet they were going to impose him on you, and they didn't want to listen to you. They thought hurting his feelings was much more important than your concerns. That to me, Karen, is extraordinary.
It's completely unacceptable. There was like no dignity there for me. They didn't care at all. I put it in writing. And they basically replied and said, we can't remove him out of your theatre, but what we can do is we can cancel your surgery. We can move you to a different doctor with a different consultant at an unknown date. And I couldn't believe it. I said, well, you're prolonging my pain now because it needs to be done. It's like an emergency. It's endometriosis. It's all over my bowels. It was a big operation. It was a joint case with the colorectal team. A lot of organisation went in. They just bypassed all that just to allow to have this person in my theatre. And it was only when I contacted the patient experience team and got the legal team involved that they did actually remove him out of the procedure, and it went ahead as normal.
Have you and your colleagues, your other nurse colleagues, have you been in touch with your union? Is it the National College of Nursing?
I'm not in a union just because I don't find them very well. I'm in the Darlington Nursing Union, but I'm not in any other union. I didn't find them really supportive, and they seem to be taking a back seat. They don't. There's no support from them at all. I think I don't know why. They're just not very supportive.
And where are you at? I know that at one point that you and your fellow nurses, you had a meeting with the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, didn't you? And I believe at the time you felt him to be rather sympathetic, but since time has carried on, perhaps not so sympathetic. Tell us about your meeting with Streeting.
He was, like I say, he was really supportive at the time. He was really polite, and I told him just a little bit about what had happened, and he said, I can't sit opposite you and say that you need to broaden your mindset or be educated. And we trusted him, we believed him. He said he would get something done, but here we are over 6 months later. He said he was going to wait for the Supreme Court ruling. That's obviously been clarified, and he's still sat there not doing anything. It's his job, as to do something.
Now, you and your fellow nurses, they started off being the Darlington 5, didn't they? But there's quite a few more of you now. So you've sued the NHS, demanding your own safe females-only space, no biological males. You must have thought that when the Supreme Court made their ruling 2 weeks ago about biological sex, that your case was now a foregone conclusion. You were home and dry. Nothing to see here anymore. We win. But I don't think that is the situation. Where is your lawsuit standing? What are the NHS saying to combat what you're demanding? What you're demanding is a safe female space, no biological men. They have to go along with that, but are they still resisting you?
They are, yes. This person's still got access to the female-only changing room, and we're still in our little converted office. So we've been ostracised into there. But that little office falls under the same policy. So if this person wanted to use and get changed with us, he still could.
Well, hang on, let's rewind there. So Rose, you've been told, you and the Darlington nurses, it's Darlington 26 now, isn't it? Have been told, look, Rose is still coming into your changing rooms, is still coming into your female-only changing rooms, whether you like it or not. And in response, they've given you some kind of office you can change in. So, in other words, they prioritised one bloke over all of you women. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely disgusted. It's unacceptable. Why should the concerns or the feelings of one person outweigh the concerns of 26 others, especially people like myself who's been through trauma? There could be other people in that changing room who are scared to come forward, and they're still standing there with him.
And how has this been for you personally, Karen? Because your kids, you've got 2 kids now in their 20s and obviously a loving husband as well. Now, I think your husband knew about your traumatic past, your being sexually abused by your father, but your kids didn't. And they've, through your bravery in coming out in public, they've come to know this. Well, first of all, before we get to your kids, what made you decide it's time for me to go public, it's time for me to stand up and be counted and to tell my story? What made you decide to identify yourself, to waive your actual legal right to anonymity?
I think I was trying to do it for other people, because, like I said, there could be other people in that room who's too scared to come forward. And I had lots of encouragement from the girls, and I just got sick of hiding behind this. My anonymity was my armour. I got sick of being scared and thinking it's something to be ashamed of. Well, it isn't. And like I said, the children didn't know, and I didn't know how to approach that and tell them. And yeah, I just got sick of hiding in the darkness, really. And I found my voice, and I thought, this is for me to. It's my time now to step forward.
And what did you got one boy and one girl, haven't you? I should say one man and one woman now. How did they react when they found out about your past?
They were quite shocked at first. They suspected something must have happened because I don't talk about him. There's no pictures of him in the house. But when I actually told them, they were just completely shocked. They were like, whoa, I didn't expect this at all. And my son just said, Mum, are you okay? And that's something the trust have never said to me. They've never asked, am I okay? But they're just so heartwarming, they're so supportive, and he gave me a big hug and he was like, it's going to be okay. We've got you.
And it sounds like you've got a great supportive husband as well?
Well, definitely, yeah, he's behind me 100%.
And are you pleased that you've now come out to tell your story? I think what you've done is courageous, and I think it's important. We need to know the details. Sometimes, of course, it's basic. Blokes should not be allowed into females' safe spaces, but there are loads of women with stories like you who have far more than legal reasons to object to this. So I do think it's important that you've come out and told your story. Are you pleased that you've done this?
Oh, definitely. It feels like a whole weight's been lifted off my shoulders. I feel like a different person. It's like there's this light about me, this glowing. I just feel so much happier, and if I can help even just one person find the courage and strength to come forward and say, this is not okay, then, I'll be happy.
And just the last couple of points. So the NHS, I mean, what we're talking about is a kind of, wokery. It's a crazed wokery that prioritises political correctness over common sense, to be honest with you. What exactly is wrong with people like you and your fellow nurses saying to the NHS, look, would it be all right if we had our own space? Would it be all right if biological men are not allowed in there? And them saying, no, it's not all right. The NHS is full of woke idiots whose wokery has resulted in them, I think, losing all sense of common sense and human decency.
Well, it's biological fact. You're either a man or a woman, and you think people like the NHS would actually know that. And
there is, you would, wouldn't you? And lastly, Karen, where are you at with where are you and your colleagues at with your legal action? When will it be heard? What is the situation right now?
So it's going to still go to tribunal in October. It was supposed to be next month, June, but it got delayed because the trust didn't meet deadlines and things like that, and it got pushed back to October. So that's where we stand at the moment. Well,
if it's any solace to you, I can't see how you can lose now, not with this Supreme Court ruling. Do you? You must be confident.
Definitely more confident with the ruling. Yeah, it's there in black and white. Nothing's changed. It's just been clarified. So yeah, definitely more confident. But we're going to fight it all the way. The trust have got a battle on their hands, and I do think that we're going to win.
Well, if they're all like you, they're going to lose. They're definitely going to lose. Karen, you're a very brave lady, and I really appreciate you coming on, and we will keep in touch with you. Thank you so much. Karen Danson there, a brave nurse at Darlington Memorial Hospital.